Hello, Mastorians. I'm back with part 2 of our recap of the Gilded Age Season 2, Episode 2, Some Sort of Trick. We're going to focus on the Van Rhijn household this time. Not a whole lot was going on there in this episode. Upstairs, Ada and Agnes are excited to entertain Rector Luke. And we can't help but notice that Ada seems very interested in every single thing that he's saying. Is she down for some pastoral peen? Who knows? After he leaves, Marian and Agnes are talking about what fun it was entertaining and, oh, we ought to do this more often. Yeah, entertaining is fun. Agnes said that she would have enjoyed the visit a little bit more had she been able to get a word in edgewise. Ada never stopped flapping her gums. So there's clearly a little tiff there that's going on between the two sisters. Do you think that they are both interested in the rector? Or is it more like one of those Downton Abbey things you all remember when Cousin Violet wasn't too thrilled about Matthew's mom getting married to that guy? And it wasn't because she was jealous because she wasn't in a relationship. It was because she was afraid that her companion would be gone if she were to get married and move on. And I wonder if that's how Agnes is feeling, because for so many years it's just been she and her sister. So is she thinking that if they get together, then I'm just going to be here by myself? Let me know what you think about that. And we've got big news for Marian. Aurora Fane is going to entertain when she gets to Newport, and her husband has someone for Marian to meet. He works for him at the banking office, and he might just be the perfect match. He comes from the right family, according to Aunt Agnes. His name is Edward Morgan. And look, let's cut to the chase. We know that this guy was definitely not a match for our Marian. He was drunk, he was rude, he was crude, he was loud and tacky. And honestly, when I saw this scene, I thought that he was going to be into Oscar, actually. That's where I thought that storyline was going. But anyway, thanks to Cousin Dashiell for coming in and saving the day and whisking Marian away and taking her to go and tour the rest of the casino. They're taking bets on the tennis match, and he doesn't know who he wants to bet on, so he asks Marian. She's like, hey, I only know one name, Dick Sears. He's a friend of Larry Russell. Okay, then $50 on Dick Sears. So he puts it all on Dick, and we learn, of course, later that Dick wins the match. And Oscar, we know, earlier in the episode got his ass handed to him by Mr. Russell for daring to think that he could marry his daughter. But things are looking up for him as he's met a young lady named Maud, who might be the secret daughter of Jay Gould. She's got a lot of money. She lives in Paris. And she might be just the thing that Oscar is looking for. If we find out that she's a lesbian, tens across the board. Let's see what happens for Oscar. Now, as far as downstairs at the Van Rhijns, Peggy came over and had a talk with Aunt Agnes, who expressed her condolences for Peggy losing her son. Peggy lets her know that if you really want to do something more than offer your condolences, I could really use my job back. She gets her job back, and Aunt Agnes lets her know, I will have a talk with Armstrong, aka the sweet little bigot who made life a living hell for Peggy while she was there. They have that discussion, and Armstrong is not happy about it. The terms are simple. Look, Armstrong, Peggy is coming back. Don't be a bigot to her. That's it. That's all. Armstrong is about to lose her mind. But what if she does something to me? Aunt Agnes basically says if she does, it's probably in retaliation for something that you've done to her. I'm not going to put up with your attitude anymore. If there's a problem, I'm going to get rid of you. We know that this is a huge problem for Armstrong. She's taking care of her mother who lives in the slum tenements somewhere around there, and she needs that job. She's an older woman. Who's going to hire her as a lady's maid at her age? So she's going to have to get it together or she's going to be out on her ear. But that doesn't really seem to sink into her. She's crying there. She's having a total fit. but what's going to happen? Who's going to hire me if you let me go? Well, the thing is, Armstrong, it's all on you. All that you have to do is leave Peggy alone. Don't antagonize Peggy. Don't be a bigot to Peggy, and you'll be able to have your job. We're not even talking about how unpleasant you are to everyone else, literally, who works there. Just leave Peggy alone. That's all that you have to do. This seems like an impossible task for her. So she's already crying and thinking about, I don't know, I guess being in the unemployment line. And of course, her very first interaction with Peggy, just being mean and nasty. Everyone's having a good old time, laughing. Looks like Peggy just told a grand old joke. They're all so glad to have her back. And then here comes Armstrong, the Duchess of Doom and Gloom. She just casts a black cloud over their mini celebration that they're having. And she's going on and on about how she's got this extra sewing to do, which Peggy offers to help her. She doesn't take up Peggy's offer, but when Bridget offers to help her, she takes her up on that. Peggy's a better woman than I. I would not have offered anything to Armstrong after how Armstrong had treated her in that first season. But Peggy, we can say at this point, she's done her part. She was the one who was done wrong, and she's the one who is extending an olive branch, which Armstrong turned down. And is it just me? Let me know if you all think. It seems like Armstrong, she feels the need to make her job seem way more important than it is, especially in the presence of Peggy. Or I think that maybe the problem is that because Peggy is the secretary and she knows that Peggy's job is a notch above hers, that she's like just showing her insecurity because it's, oh, I've got this sewing to do. I can't do dinner tonight. My job is too important for that. And so when Peggy says, I can help you, the distraction will be good, then she's insulted that, oh, you just see this work as a distraction. I don't know what Armstrong's deal is beyond her being a bigot, which we can all clearly see. And I don't really appreciate them trying to humanize her by bringing in her mother's storyline last season. Like, don't do that to us at the end. We've seen how nasty this lady is. I'm not worried about her mother. She's so nasty. But we'll see how that turns out. What do you all think is going to happen? Is Armstrong going to finally get over her bigotry and just be cordial? Or even saying nothing would be better than the way that she treats Peggy. She doesn't want to be out on her ear. She knows that she can't find another job. What is she going to do? The ball is in her court. And earlier that day, we saw that Jack got up late because his alarm clock wasn't working. Looks like he's going to come up with something to do with an alarm clock to get himself up to the next level. But we'll see. And then downstairs at the Russells, let's go in and get the servants out of the way. We had Adelheid coming back to Manhattan because she forgot one of Bertha's dresses that she needs in Newport. Adelheid is frantic about it. She happened to see Jack on the street and she's crying and letting him know that she forgot a dress that she should have brought. And oh my God, what's going to happen? Jack tells her, hey babe, take it down 1,000 notches. Go in and get that dress and get back to Newport. And she's all of a sudden calm because Jack is just everything. She even says, hey, when I get back, can we have another cup of coffee? And that is Jack's magic word. Coffee is his aphrodisiac, I swear. You don't have to ask him twice about having a cup of coffee. Would he like to do that? Of course he would. Now, Adelheid, you're talking about having this cup of coffee when you get back. Girl, right now, you need to be concerned about whether or not you're going to have a job. You do realize that you left Miss Bertha's dress. Maybe when you get back to Newport, she might not have a job for you. Keep your mind off of that coffee and on Miss Bertha's dresses, and then we'll see if we can have some fun across the street having coffee with the young Jack. And Watson, you guys, his son-in-law came looking for him. I wonder what the message was that he was going to deliver. He has a brief talk with Mr. Russell because he is not able to go down there and talk to Watson, but he doesn't tell him anything. Obviously, we know that he doesn't want it to get out that his wife is the daughter of a servant, so he says absolutely nothing to Mr. Russell. But I do wonder what the conversation will be that he'll have with Watson. For the first episode of this show, I left a link to the HBO podcast that accompanies the show. I went and looked at the podcast after episode 2, but the link I saw after a while was unlisted, and I heard something about Watson in that podcast episode that I don't believe we have heard on the show yet, and I want to think that that's why HBO unlisted the episode. It could be that I overlooked something, but just for my own curiosity, will you please put down in the comments everything that you know about Watson that we've learned from the episodes? I don't want any spoilers, but there was something that they mentioned in that podcast, because obviously they've watched the whole season, and I think that something slipped about Watson that they don't want out yet because they haven't revealed it in an episode. I think that that's why that podcast was unlisted. But if you like my review, you'll probably love that podcast because they go through every bit of history that is real. That's something that I do in separate videos on my channel, but their podcast is brilliant. So if you're not already subscribed to that HBO podcast, you might want to check that out. Did we already know that it was Church who wrote the letter about Bannister being the butler for the day for the Ward McAllister dinner? Well, of course, Church just wants to move past it. Bannister says he doesn't know about this whole forgive and forget thing. I might be able to forgive, but forget, I don't know. And I feel you on that. I don't know about forgetting. Now, I will say this when it comes to forgiveness. You don't necessarily forget, but if you've truly forgiven, then you can't be bashing that person over the head with whatever they did that time. You know, anytime you get upset with them. If you forgive, you don't bring it up anymore. But do you ever forget? No, you don't. I'm with Bannister on that one. But we'll see what happens next. That pretty much wraps up the Van Rhijn household and everything going on with the servants. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the next episode for the rest of this season. I'd like to do another fan predictions video, so I'll be pulling your comments and we'll talk about what you have said if we're going to do another one of those videos. Otherwise, I will be working on getting myself well so that I can get these episodes out on my channel a little more quickly. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video. And also, remember to check out my videos about the real characters who've been put in this show. I did a video about the real Mrs. Chamberlain, the real Ward McAllister, the real T. Thomas Fortune, and the real life of Stanford White. So if you like the Gilded Age, check out my videos so that you can see some of the real stories behind these real people. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
This video has been brought to you by me. Well, my Patreon is a sponsor for this video. If you like these dirty scandals on my channel, then you'll love my Patreon, Ty's Too Hot Mess History. It has all of the stuff that I can't talk about or show here because it's just too hot, too violent, too sexual, too graphic, too much. Come and join us there for the hot mess history. The link is in the description box.